Want to know where to find more time each day? We all know there are only a finite number of hours in the day, in the week, and it just never feels like enough, right? If you are someone who has really been trying to be productive, you have sought out answer after answer for ways to increase your productivity, better manage your time, and live your dream life, but you're still just feeling like it's not enough, then this video is going to come as some hopefully helpful yet tough love advice where I'm going to share with you 6 of the biggest time wasters where you might be losing time without even realizing it. These are all things that I really had to come to terms with myself, and of course they are up for debate. Many of them are rather contentious, so I will be curious throughout this video if you would comment down below and let me know if you agree or disagree with whether these are truly a waste of your time or not. But I argue that they are, and more importantly, cutting these 6 things out will give you back so much more time in your week that you can use for more important things. I'm Amber with Solutions for Simplicity, and the mission of this whole channel is to help you do more and stress less. As a busy working mom of 3 young kids, I know better than anybody how hard it is to have a million demands on your plate and feel like there is never enough time to get it all done. But after years of struggling, I really sought out scientifically proven ways to be more effective and purposeful with our time. And so everything I share here is based on actionable advice to give you the time that you crave. It is my mission to share all the things I have learned with you, and I make 2 new videos a week, so definitely subscribe and let's jump in. Time waster number 1 is keeping up with the news. Yes, it's good to be an informed citizen, and yes, we might need to be aware of big important things that could have an impact on our lives. But that being said, we all know that the media companies thrive on perpetuating this sense of fear and anxiety, and they focus particularly on the bad news because that's what sells, that's what gets views. There are so many studies showing that people who are really hooked into the news cycle are much more depressed, much more anxious, and much less satisfied with their lives. Many of us also have a tendency to, feed our curiosity by following celebrities' lives. And I used to spend so much time on this, granted, before I had kids, but still, as I look back and I think about how much time I used to spend scrolling people.com, or my eye would get caught by some news popping headline about some famous person, right? That was such a waste of my time because it had no real relevance to my life, and it was very much just an escape. Oftentimes it would turn into that proverbial rabbit hole where then I would end up spending so much time learning about something that really made no difference, right? And it wasn't a good use of my time. So I would simply ask you, how much time are you spending watching the news or reading the news or keeping up with celebrity gossip on a normal basis? Chances are you don't even realize how much time you are spending, and on top of the time factor, it is probably really contributing to the state of your mental health as well. So if you cut this out, or at least cut back on the amount of time that you're spending on it, you will see a huge difference. Time waster number 2 is probably the most contentious, so definitely shout out below and let me know whether you agree or disagree. But that is actually going to a store and shopping in person. We don't often realize how much time this actually takes, right? And so, yes, if it's something you do because you love it, or it's your only little bit of alone time, right, as a busy mom, that's understandable. But at the same time, again, we have to think about how much our time is worth. The time it takes to load up into the car, drive to wherever the store is, get out, go inside, shop around, wait in line to check out, load back up, that really adds up. And we are so fortunate nowadays to live in this day and age where we can do online subscription services or order something online to be sent directly to our house. There are so many amazing options out there. I will link some of my favorites below. We also have all of these great curbside pickup programs for groceries. And obviously Walmart and Sam's kind of pioneered this process, but even places like Target, Safeway, Publix, your regular run-of-the-mill grocery store, they have made this all the more possible thanks to the craziness of the year. So saving time in this way has made a huge difference for me. The other option is that many of these stores also offer delivery service, or you could hire someone through a program like TaskRabbit to go and do your shopping and bring it back to you. Again, really figure out what your time is worth in a monetary sense, and then consider whether your time would be better spent doing whatever it is that you love or that is going to bring in more money for you, rather than spending it on something like this mundane grocery shopping trip. Similarly, time waster number 3 is driving in general. Obviously, some driving is unavoidable, and the closer you can live to where you work, or if you can work from home, that's all the better. But really, some other ways around this are to consolidate when you have your appointments or when you try and run errands. If you really have a set time of the week where you schedule those kinds of things, then you avoid going out and wasting time driving to one place one day, another place another day, and you minimize your risk of getting stuck in traffic. It's also helpful to drive during off-peak hours, right? So really try and be aware of when the rush hour in your city would be and stay off the roads during that time if you can. If you can live as close to work as possible, that's awesome. And if you can't, if you still have a commute, then at least consider taking another form of transportation, even if it's an Uber, right? But just so that you could do something productive during that time. All right, time waster number 4 is something that I'm really curious to get your perspective on here. But in my experience, this is one of the easiest ways to waste time without even realizing it, right? Because we are doing it in the name of productivity. That is spending too much time planning. We all want to have a plan, and it's really helpful to know what it is that has to happen, what's coming up, when things are due, right? But the downside is that we can easily spend way too much time trying to make the perfect plan, and then in reality, so often unexpected things come up and throw everything off. It's really important that you have a set time each week where you do sit down and plan, but do not let yourself plan for more than about 15 minutes, right? As you get good routines and systems in place, you should have a sense of the kinds of tasks you do on a regular basis, the times of the week where you will regularly do each kind of thing, and it shouldn't take long to update your weekly plan with new items. And it's just so important that you set a timer, give yourself that deadline to make a plan, and move on. I also highly recommend that you do not plan for more than 1, maybe 2 weeks at a time. Otherwise, the chances of life happening and throwing things off are just so much more high. Lastly, remember that you've got to be really aware of whether you should just be doing the work instead of making a plan, right? A lot of our tasks are self-explanatory. They don't need to necessarily be penciled in. We don't need to spend time planning out every little detail of our life. And particularly if we are wasting our most productive peak performance hours, as I call them, our prime productivity time each day, on making a plan instead of using that cognitive brain power for the most important work that we need to do, then we're not being as effective and productive with our time as we should be. So don't let planning take up too much of your time. Really force yourself to plan for a small little time window and then just get to work. Time waster number 5 is so important to be aware of. That is caring too much what anyone else thinks. It's amazing how much time and brain power we can spend worrying about what someone is thinking, or whether we should listen to one person versus another, right? Instead of just listening to ourselves, doing what we know needs to be done, or being confident in our ability to figure things out. It's very easy to let those social voices live rent-free in our head, and all the more so if it's a voice of a trusted loved one or someone that we really genuinely care about, right? But at the end of the day, we need to take control of our own lives and be more assertive with how we are spending our time. So when you catch yourself starting to worry about what someone else thinks, or feeling like you need someone else's approval in order to make a decision, that's a really good sign that you're wasting time. Now, I know you are just as guilty of number 6 as I am. That is that you are constantly checking your phone for the latest emails or messages or social media updates, right? We all crave that new exciting thing, and we all are afraid of missing out on the latest, greatest thing. So that tendency to just pick up our phone and see what's new, that is a real thing, right? It's a very natural tendency, but you would be amazed how much time you are wasting from this simple activity. I am definitely not saying that phones are bad or that technology is bad or that you shouldn't be on social media, but I am saying that we need to be very intentional and purposeful with not only when we check for messages, but how long we are doing so and how many times throughout the day we are allowing ourselves to be distracted with that question of, did I get anything new? Really look at your phone's screen time report and be honest with yourself about how many times you pick up your phone each day or how many hours a day you spent on your phone. Both of these data points are super enlightening, and I have been shocked by my own numbers. So, this isn't to condemn ourselves. This is simply to get honest and point out that, again, we have more time than we think. We just might not be using it as well as we could. So I highly, highly recommend that you give yourself a few set times throughout the day specifically designated for checking messages. If you can hold off on doing this for the first few hours of the day and reserve that precious time for your most important work, that's awesome. But at a minimum, use the timers and the time limits that are set up within all the different social media platforms, or set a timer yourself. Give yourself a designated time to be all in on whatever you're doing on your phone, but then put it away, get it out of sight, turn off notifications, and just buckle down to work or be present with those around you. All right, I have a bonus tip for you, and this is one that I really had to get serious with myself about. So holler in the comments if you are someone who struggles with this too. But time waster number 7 is trying to be perfect at everything. It's really admirable to want to do our best, and so often those kinds of qualities that might push us forward in terms of our job performance or our career success, those are really great in one area of our lives, but they really screw us over in others, right? And the reality is that very few, if any, things need to be done perfectly. Chances are that you could get something done and that good is good enough, and you didn't need to spend as long as you did or worry as much about what you were doing as you might have done if you were trying to make it perfect. There are so many ways that we can dumb down certain things, especially if they're relatively low stakes, right? They're not going to make or break our life. And we can free up so much more time if we just allow ourselves to complete something to a good ability, but not necessarily the best of what we are capable of. I sincerely hope that you have gotten value out of these tips and that they have given you ideas on ways that you can free up more time in your life, ways that you can find more time in your day. You will be amazed at how much time each and every one of these things really does take up. So I would encourage you to do that hard evaluation of where your time is going. I've made a whole video with my recommendation and my signature process for how to do this. So jump straight into that video next. Give this one a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for 2 new videos a week on planning, prioritizing, productivity, time management, and that elusive thing we call work-life balance. And I'll see you back soon with another video. Have a great day.